These are notes from Elham's Math 70, Friday, April the 17th, section 11.3, page 659. We're dealing basically with finance charges for credit cards. Many of you have credit cards, and if you have an outstanding balance, then the bank or lending institution will normally charge you a finance charge if you have any outstanding balance at the end of each month, and we're going to talk about how they compute that amount. First, we have something called an average daily balance. So for the average daily balance, as you might anticipate just for the word average, it's the sum of all the amounts that you owe every day divided by the total number of days. So on the first of a month, you owe a certain amount, and the second of the month, and the third of the month, and so on, all the way to, let's say, there's 30 days in a month. Sometimes there's 31. For February, there's either 28 or 29. But you just add up the balance every day of what you have, and you divide that by the number of days of the month, and that comes out to be the average daily balance. Right, so, as a couple of simple examples for how much the finance charge might be. So, example number 2, the average daily balance is $391.64. That's the average that you owed every day of that month. It doesn't mean you owed that exact amount, although it could be, in which case you really made no purchases or payments, but on the average, that's how much you had. So the bank will figure out the average daily balance for that month. And the monthly interest rate, as an example here, is 1.75%. I'll just mention that usually you're given an annual rate. So to get the monthly rate, of course, you just divide by 12. So let's pretend that the annual rate was, let's say, 18%, then you just divide that by 12 to get 1.5% per month. So in this particular credit card, you're paying 1.75% per month. So the finance charge is simply the average daily balance, $391.64, times the 1.75%, written as a percent, is 0.0175. Rounded to the nearest penny, it's $6.85. So the so-called finance charge for that month would be $6.85. Remember, for these problems, we're dealing with money, so money is always rounded to the nearest penny. One more simple example like that. For number 4, the average daily balance is $20,346.91. I hope that's not for any of you. That's a lot to owe, and that you're really racking up quite a bit of charges if you have something that high. And the monthly interest rate is 1.25%. So for the finance charge, you simply multiply the average daily balance, $20,346.91, times the monthly interest rate. Again, if they give it to you, quite often the banks will give it to you as an annual rate. You just divide by 12 to get the monthly rate. And so times 0.0125 as a decimal, and it comes out to be rounded to the nearest penny, $254.34. So that would be considered the finance charge. And obviously, the more that you owe, 20,000 something, the more you would pay in a finance charge. So that's another good reason not to owe too much money. The expression is sometimes used that you can get in debt, and the debt just snowballs, because if you have a high amount that you owe, and then the higher you have, the more you end up paying in the finance charge, so it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just snowballs on you. So you don't normally want to end up with a very large balance. If possible, pay off the balance in full, and then you don't owe any finance charge. All right, now for 6 and 8 are much more difficult problems. We're actually going to figure out, for problem 6, an average daily balance, and then for number 8, we'll find an average daily balance and then compute the finance charge. And it's not too hard, but it does require you to figure out what's going on. So that's the reason why this section, there actually aren't that many problems. It was only 1 through 8, but you have to kind of follow along very carefully what's happening. So for a person's credit card, we're trying to figure out the average daily balance. So this is what's happening for this particular individual. All right, so on April the 1st, they owe $768. That's their balance. And then on April the 5th, the text says this person made a $316 purchase, which means they're going to owe more. And then on April the 18th, they made a payment of $200. So what is the average daily balance? Now, this is a very modest use of the individual's credit card. I mean, your credit card and my credit card will have probably many more purchases, but just for the sake of this discussion, and to make the problem easier for us, let's just assume this is all that happens, right? So the beginning balance on April the 1st is $768. You make a purchase of $316, and you make a payment of $200. So what's the average daily balance? So from April the 1st to April the 4th, the balance was $768. You don't do anything with that. It just stays $768. Then on April the 5th, you make a $316 purchase. So the new balance is $1,084. That's $768 plus $316. So now we owe $1,084. And then on April the 18th, we make a payment off this credit card of $200. So that makes the new balance $884, which is $1,084 minus $200. Okay, so now how do we figure out the average daily balance? Right, so from April the 1st to April the 4th, the balance was $768. So we're talking about the sum of the amounts owed each day. So from April the 1st to April the 4th, it's $768, $768, $768, $768. But of course, it's a lot easier to just go $768 times 4, and it comes out to be $3,072. Then between April the 5th and April the 18th, the balance was $1,084 because we made a $316 purchase. So after the $316 purchase, we now owe $1,084, and then nothing happens until April the 18th. So that's a period of 13 days that the balance is $1,084. So during this entire stretch, we owe $1,084. So $1,084 times the 13 days is $14,092. Then on April the 18th, we make a $200 payment, so the new balance drops down to $884, and that happens for the rest of the month. So we owe $884 for 13 days from April the 18th to May the 1st. That's $11,492. Right, we add all of this up, and it's $28,656 is the grand total. And now I take that number and divide it by the 30 days of the month, because April has 30 days. This is where we do need to know how many days there are in a month. So May, for instance, would have 31 days. August has 31 days. February has either 28 or 29 days. This being a leap year, it would have 29 days, and so on. So it depends on what month you have. April has 30 days. So we take this $28,656 divided by 30, and we have $955.20. So $955.20 is the average of the daily balances that we had for that particular month. Okay, sometimes it was higher, sometimes it was lower. So notice it went from $768 up to $1,084 after we made the purchase of $316, and then it dropped to $884 after we made the $200 payment. Okay, but the average for the entire month is $955.20, and that's the number that's used to calculate your finance charge. So if you look on your bank statement or your credit card statement, for instance, and it says average daily balance, and say, how do you get this average daily balance? This is exactly what happens. Now, I'm guessing that you and I would have more transactions than this person who was very modest, just to make the calculations easier on us, that just two transactions, a $316 purchase and then a $200 payment. You and I might have many more purchases and payments and so on, but this is what's going to happen here. Then for problem number 8, similar kind of game, except we have to actually find out the finance charge in this particular case. So on June the 1st, we had a $655 balance. Sorry, this came out funny, so I whited it out and made it $655. You saw me do that in class often when I messed up. Then on the 15th of the month, we make a $250 payment, and that's going to make the new balance $405 because it's $655 minus $250. So now we owe $405. And then we make a purchase on June the 17th of $98. So we add 98 to the 405, which is now 503, 405 plus 98. So first we have to figure out the average daily balance once again, because it started off with 655 and then it went down to 405 and then it went up to 503. So what was the average? So from June the 1st to June the 14th, that's 14 days. We made no transactions, so it's 655. 655 every day times the 14 is 9170. Then after we make the payment of $250, the new balance is $405. That's only for 2 days, from June 15th to June 16th. So for 2 days, 405 times 2, 810. And then on June the 17th, we make a $98 purchase. That should be a purchase there, sorry, $98 purchase. So that raises the balance to 503. And that's until the end of the month, so 14 more days. So 503 times 14 is 7,042. Add this up, we get 17,022. And now I divide that by the 30 days because the average daily balance is the sum of the amounts owed every day. So I added them all up, 17,022, and divided by 30 days. And that comes to be $567.40. That's the average daily balance. Right. And now the rest of the problem is just like problems 2 and 4. So I take the 567.40, multiply it by the monthly finance charge. In this example, it was 1.2%. So I take this number times 0.012, rounded to the nearest penny is $6.81. So this is how the credit card companies and the banks would charge you for finance. The finance charge is $6.81. Right, so these are notes for Math 70, section 11.3, page 659, for Friday, April the 17th.